Hey everybody, it's Commander Clyde. Welcome back to another SMITE patch notes video. We're going to be looking at the Goddess of Rivers update notes. Got a new god coming to the battleground. New Yoruba Guardian. Yemoja. Goddess of Rivers. Just start with how her mana functions. She does not have mana. She has something called Omi. I think that's how you say that. I don't know. I wasn't there for the stream, so I don't know how they were pronouncing it. Anyway, Yemoja's abilities do not cost any mana, and only her ultimate has a cooldown. Steam, get out of here. Instead, Yemoja uses Omi to cast spells. She starts with 7 and is able to earn up to 3 more. Yemoja gains 1 Omi plus 0.01 per level every 5 seconds, and cooldown reduction increases Omi regeneration. Yemoja's basic attack healing only affects gods and does not proc item effects. Unlock additional Omi at 300, 450, and 600 mana /MP5 from items. Yemoja's basic attack projectile hits allies in a larger radius and passes through them, stopping on the first enemy hit. Basic attack healing 1 plus 0.2 per level every 0.5 seconds, and 10% increased healing for 7 seconds. Yemoja's basic attack healing does not proc item effects. 10% increased healing 1 every 0.5 seconds plus. So she's only getting like 5 per. That's not small. I mean, since you can spam it, obviously you don't want that to be overtuned, so that's probably a good spot to start. Anyway, first ability, Bouncing Bubble. Yemoja tosses out a bubble that bounces twice, dealing damage and slowing enemies by 30% before exploding into smaller bubbles, and that deal 50% damage. Enemies hit by both bubble bounces take 50% damage on the second hit. Damage for 40 up to 100 plus 40%. Slow duration 1.2 to 2 seconds. Cost 2 Omi. Moon Strike. Yemoja calls upon the moon to deal damage to enemies below. The inner strike is the largest, dealing full damage and stunning all enemies and enemy structures hit. Wait, stunning enemy structure. How does this work? Is it deployable structures like Ymir walls, or like actual They don't specify that. That's weird. Inner damage 50 up to 210 plus 55%. Outer damage 20 to 100 plus 20% of your magical power. Stun duration 1 to 1.4 seconds. Slows, stuns, fun 2 Omi. So that's 2, and then 3, and then you're out, and you have to wait for it to come back. Yemoja sends out a wave of water that damages all enemies it passes through, dealing extra unmitigated damage to their shields. Once the wave reaches an ally, it bounces to all nearby allies, healing and shielding them for 3 seconds. Damage is 50 up to 170 plus 40%. Bonus damage to shields is 2x, 2x, 2x. 2x at rank 5 is 3x. So 3 times damage to shield. Heal is 20 to 100 plus 20%. Shield is 40 to 200 plus 20%. Your magical power cost is 3 Omi. So this is interesting. We have a god that is a shield shredder. I guess Hyra's responded to the fact there's a lot of shielding in the game these days. That can be pretty annoying, and this is a direct counter to that. Smart on them noticing a game trend. One of these abilities has 2 effects, or something that like toggles through. I'm not sure how it works. I think that's how it is. I wasn't there for the stream. They probably explained that there. So anyway, Riptide. Yemoja creates a water ring that knocks up everyone that enters it. Allies are pushed further and gain both movement speed and protections for 3 seconds. Enemies go a shorter distance and are slowed. After entering a ring, you are briefly locked out of entering another. Yemoja can place the ring at a maximum distance to reverse the direction. Movement speed 20 to 40%, protections 20 to 40, physical magical protection, slow 30% for 2 seconds, ring duration 6 seconds, cost 3 Omi. So what that's saying is that you'll get movement speed and get pushed further when you cast it in front of you. If you cast it at max range, it will push the other way, is what it seems to say. So that makes it a good ability. If you can't get to your carry in time, you can put this down at max range, and then they'll get pushed forward so they can get away from the enemy. Pretty smart design. I'll have to see how that's implemented. And then finally, the ultimate River's Rebuke. Yemoja unleashes her full power, creating 2 large walls of water that block enemy movement and projectiles. After a delay, the river cascades down, damaging, trembling, and slowing enemies. Yemoja gains a buff to her Omi regeneration while she is in the river field that lingers briefly after she leaves it. Damage 240 to 500 plus 70%. So she's not a crazy high damage Guardian, which is obviously good. You don't need more of that. So 90%, decreasing by 30% each second. It's a decreasing slow, but this is like the ability. If you see it, you get away from it. You don't go near it. You run. 3 seconds. So it's a down to 30% by 2 seconds, or for the 3rd second. But this is still an ability you want to run away from, and if you're fighting, you need sprint against this god, because that sounds like hell. Omi regen 1 extra every 2 seconds. Buff duration 4 seconds after leaving the area. Gains a buff to her Omi read. Okay. Cooldown 100 seconds. The only ability with cooldown. These are dependent on using Omi. So how it looks like is you'll probably expend most of that using a ability rotation, and then have to wait for it to come back. So I don't know what the base regen time is. Gains 1 Omi every 5 seconds. Okay, so it's every 5 seconds. So basically, if you use everything, it's got a cooldown of 5 seconds. Actually, no, 10, because everything costs 2 Omi. If you spend it all, then you have to wait 10 seconds to cast at least 1 more. That's a good way of balancing it. And then a bunch of skins. This is weird. This is a neat skin. I don't understand how they're executing this. I haven't seen it in game. I feel like they'd have to make her model shorter for this skin. If they don't, then it's kind of weird. But whatever. This is interesting. 2 new Ymir skins. I do like this because scarecrows are dope. And then Far Cry Blood Dragon. That's all I can say about that. Release schedule October 15th. Yemoja Cute Cultivator Persephone Wise Wizard Merlin Halloween Chest. October 22nd Whirlwind Tech Xinjiang. October 29th Swift Screw Your Neath Retro Rex Chest. So it's not in the game yet. It's in the PTS though, isn't it? And then November 5th, Style Defender Thor, Esports Cosmetics, Avatars, blah blah, adding this stuff, adding this, they're adding a bunch of cosmetic stuff based on the teams. That's all you need to know. I'm not reading all that. Bug fixes. Fixed an issue where killing the Oni Fury would sometimes not spawn an empowered wave. Fixed Archer Minion sometimes stopping short of max attacking range of the Titan, but still attempt to fire range shots at the Titan. What? UI fixed several match lobby skin selection issues. Fixed item builder filter using or instead of and when filtering CCR. Fixed some names not displaying on the ranked leaderboards. Fixed some settings failing to save the client close within 15 seconds of closing the settings page. Fix many of the spectator game stats key binding labeled incorrectly. Fix volume settings not saving after relogging. Fix voice chat icons not showing active when player is speaking. Fix undefined text issues. Fix problems with the buy AI button sometimes not working. Player can now rotate preview models with right thumbstick. Console. Fix disappearing cursor when trying to highlight the filters button on the other tab. Bunch of god bugs. Changa General. Fix Pirate Queen basic attack audio playing twice. Fix Pirate Queen Rabbit appearing untextured at low shader settings. I noticed that. Fixed Admiral and Pirate Queen Chang'e's animation freezing if left idle for too long. Chernobog General fixed Archangel VGS saying enemy ultimate incoming instead of any enemy ultimate down. That's a problem. Wait. It's complete miscommunication. Hell General fixed Pop Punk light stance using dark stance emotes. Hera Argus fixed Argus sometimes unable to target towers. I've seen that happen. Huyi General fixed animation issues out of combat forward right walking. Horus, if Horus dies while being spectated, their icon will no longer remain on the map until respawning. Fracture fixed an issue where this ability could trigger Heartseeker twice to the Skies fixed an issue where sometimes players became stuck in the disembodied state when using this ability. Ice's Circle of Protection fixed ability to proc Staff of Ridden when on cooldown rather than when cast. King Arthur's Sundering Strike Celebr's Wrath fixed ability where Pridwin would not trigger when this ability was used. Umoja General fixed Missing Crystal Sounds from intro across multiple skins. Persephone Grasp of Death fixed an issue where if a player activated the Beads Relic and when hit by the cage, the player would be unable to damage the cage afterwards. Fixed an issue that resulted in CC Minion now cleansing the Vinegrass. Scotty General fixed Calavera VGS having mixed up lines for Be Careful Middle and Be Careful Left. Huh. Early surrender improvements. Basically, if you early surrender, you don't lose MMR, and the rest of your team won't lose TP. Enemy team will gain a controlled amount of TP. You will lose, if you're the one who DC'd, you will lose double the TP, but your MMR will also be unaffected. So basically, as far as MMR goes, early surrenders will be a wash. They will do nothing. Data-driven auto-buy. I don't know about that. I don't use auto-buy. Who cares? Player behavior updates. Updated the bad word filter list to catch players trying to bypass it by using stupid things like spaces and weird spots. Basically, they wanted to read the words better so that people aren't saying dumb shit in games. Shadow banning. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but new behavior features. Players who engage in certain negative chat behaviors will have their ability to send chat messages removed, but they will not get any feedback to indicate their messages have not been sent. So basically, you're typing away like a moron and no one sees it. It's funny. Actually, we probably should read it. We will be implementing English. We will be implementing a new form of punishment with the primary goal of protecting the average player from harassment. Shadow banning will happen mid-match and automatically based on a set of specified conditions. We are not detailing these conditions publicly because we don't want to give players enough info to circumvent it. This will allow these players to continue playing, but remove their ability to chat. Chat gag. The next feature is similar to shadow banning in many ways. It is also applied mid-match and automatically based on a set of specified conditions, but generally for less extreme cases. This punishment will notify the player that they triggered the punishment in the hope that they will improve their behavior to have their restrictions removed. A new penalty that can be applied to a player's account, limiting the amount of messages they have available to send. When triggered, players will have a limited number of messages, VGS commands, and pings they can send. As the match continues, they will slowly gain more messages. As players who are chat gag play games where they don't engage in negative chat behavior, these restrictions will become less intense and eventually removed. Automated instance reporting. Based on actions players engage in the game, the match instance itself can report players. Adjusted back in behavior systems to utilize this automated instance reporting more directly. We will still rely on player reports above all else, but this will help our internal teams better recognize players who are creating a negative experience for others more quickly. Automatically flag people. They'll come up in a list. They'll come up in their reports more often, and they'll be able to recognize players that are causing issues faster. You get the idea. No, this is all to end toxic behavior. So if you're out there playing the game, be nice. Don't be a jerk. Don't cause more negativity than there needs to be. If the only thing you can do when things go wrong in the game is complain and yell at your teammates, then you need to either shape up or you need to stop playing, because that doesn't help anybody. In fact, it just makes the experience more miserable for you and the people playing. Trust me, you may not think it, but if you have negative behavior like that all the time, it's going to affect your mood and you're going to have less fun and be miserable too. even if you're doing well. Game modes. Another adventure returns. Classic Joust again. Great. Q's added a hard difficulty to co-op and practice. Ooh, easy and medium difficulties have been rebalanced. Item balance. Assassin's Blessing now provides 50 health. Increased mana restored from 20 to 25% per trigger of his passive. They want it to feel a little better for junglers. With worlds quickly approaching, we don't want to implement any extreme map changes to force a meta shift, so instead we are giving junglers a slight buff to their starter. To help it better compare to other roles at the start of the match, i.e. solo, Warrior's Blessing is crazy. Increased cost of Blackthorn from 2,000 to 2,200. This should have been done already. Well needed change. Increased cost of Heartseeker from 2,900 to 3,100. Fixed an issue where this item was providing 70 physical power instead of the listed 75. Pretty big item. They want it to be more positioned as a late game item. People are kind of building it in the middle. Just kind of weird. You shouldn't be. It's designed to be a late game item. It's like Ratatouille, basically, for physicals, in a way. So, cost increase. Achilles increased basic attack range from 12 to 16. Updated Achilles basic attack animation to better represent the range. The best looking warrior on the battleground is back and looking better than ever. There was a lot of disappointed fans when his basic attack range was nerfed for balance and artistic reasons earlier this year. Those Achilles fans can now proudly cheer on their hero again as his range is returned with some adjusted animations to match. People, I thought, across the board hated his range. I don't know why they're bringing that back. God of Decay is often seen as a niche pick against healers due to the way Last Breath functions. For a god who has a specific counter pick function, he wasn't actually doing much to counter. We're adding even more healing reduction to his kit to go alongside the amount in his ultimate and Last Breath stun. Oh wait, that's Undead Surge. I misread this when I looked at it earlier. Undead Surge now applies a 40% reduction to healing for 5 seconds. They've given him Cuchulain's same kind of... well, actually, his is 50%, so it's different. 40%. This is a lot of anti-healing on one god. He's got 3 abilities. Okay, 3 is technically not an anti-heal ability, because you can still heal. It'll just do bonus damage after you've healed, but yeah. I like that because he is a niche pick. If he wasn't a niche pick, this would be broken. Bleh. This would be broken. Why can I not speak? Kukulkan. Homie is vulnerable and feels slow. Increased base health from 365 to 380. Increased health per level from 68 to 75. I think that's fine, but he's already got a movement speed, steroid, and ability. So I don't know if you really need to increase the movement speed, but whatever. Whirlwind. Increase the rate at which Whirlwind attempts to apply or refresh the damaging effect on a player in the area for every 0.5 to every 0.25 seconds. So this means from initial cast, it will now take 1.75 seconds for a player to be hit by a Whirlwind dot, down from 2. It will also more quickly refresh, increasing the chances the enemy will take additional ticks after leaving the area. If you think about it, he's at a disadvantage with gods like Poseidon, where his Whirlpool starts proccing damage much faster. Whirlwind, granted, does more damage, but it's too easy to walk out of. Now you're taking more consistent damage. Now deals 1 additional tick when first applied it. Persephone's kind of ridiculous. Things are being changed. Persephone's harvest plants now deal 50% damage while in her revived state to match Persephone's damage reduction. Why did the harvest plants have damage calculated separately for that? Somebody needs to explain that to me, because that's a little unfair. It said her damage is reduced by 50%. That's what it should be. Why was it not functioning that way? That's part of why she was so stupid, because her harvest plants were overtuned. Persephone now gains 100% of her mana back when entering the death state. Added a brief lockout so players cannot accidentally cancel reviving themselves. You can cancel it. How? Bone rush to the area. Damage area bone rush is now a rolling line. This means players close to the explosion are hit earlier than those far away. Add an intro sound to give players better feedback if this ability has been cast. The damage area bone rush now displays a warning targeter. The way this cast is weird though. It casts in the direction you're facing when you press the button, so it's not, there's not a pre-fire on it like a lot of mage line attacks have. So you can't cast it and then flick and turn around on somebody. It will go exactly where you're aiming, which I don't like, but you know. Harvest max count has been decreased from 10 at all levels to 6, 8, 8, 10. Harvest now displays a buff bar counter to indicate how many harvest plants are active. And that's nice to have, because you kind of just had to throw them out there and guess. And sometimes some would go back to you if you put too many down, and you're like, well, I didn't know I had too many down, and you're just like, what? Whatever. Added a new mini-map icon for harvest plants. Increased harvest explosion scaling from 75 to 80%. Increased harvest bite scaling from 85 to 90%. Decreased subsequent damage reduction from 50, 75, 87.5 to 40, 65, 78%. So wait, now these have gotten buffed technically. So has she even been I mean, she's still new, but she's kind of a bullshit character, and she's got a fairly high ban rate right now. So I'm thinking, wouldn't you want to nerf her a little bit more? Decreasing the max count of plants at early levels doesn't really do that, because they still do a lot of damage. And if you get hit by 3 of these early, you're dead, essentially. Whatever. I don't think that's enough of a nerf. Raijin. Increase Raiju's base bounce damage tick from 9 to 33 to 14 to 50. Increase Raiju's bounce damage tick scaling from 8 to 10%. Raijin has had flashes of excellence in the Season 6 meta, but they are few and far between. In a previous round of nerfs, Raiju saw a significant damage reduction to decrease his Lancor and Poke. We are partially reverting to a number in between the two limits, which should make him a better mage option without pushing him over the top. Set. Kingslayer decreased base damage from 25 to 85 to 25 to 65. Increased damage scaling from 25 to 30%. Decreased base healing from 45 to 105 to 45 to 85. Increased healing scaling from 20 to 25%. Updated description to make it more clear. That says attacks mark enemies. Kings are being slain left and right by Set, especially in the Pro League. Set is a high-risk, high-reward assassin, but the dominant strategy has become full tank Set. We are decreasing the base values while increasing the power scaling for both the damage and healing of his ultimate ability. This will require players to build more like a true assassin to reap the same rewards of this ability. So they won't want people abusing his damage, essentially, while building tanky and still being able to kill somebody really effectively. They want to encourage an assassin playstyle, which makes him a little bit higher risk to play, because you don't get as much out of him as building tanky, which encourages you to not build that way, etc. You get the idea. Sobek has been carefully lurking in the waters, waiting for his time to strike. After he put up an impressive record in the Pro League last year, he was nerfed primarily due to pro frustration. We are happy to finally buff the old croc, ideally in a way that pushes him more towards support. We also feel that this is safe now that solo lane has become more aggressive and warriors have more stable footing if he does end up back in solo. Charge Prey, decreased cooldown from 15 to 13 seconds. Sickening Strike, increased damage from 60 to 220 to 80 to 220. I feel Sobek has always had effectiveness in the solo lane, mainly because of Sickening Strike having anti-heal in it, which it keeps the warriors from being able to sustain as much, but his damage from that was so low that he really couldn't clear, and so he would still get punished. Maybe that will be less common now that he has more early damage on it. Tier. No one is above the law. After multiple buffs that seemed impactful, Tyr has still struggled to find a place in the meta, so we are doing a big revert back to Tyr's glory days. Fearless is in defensive stances having its knock-up returned. This should allow TYR to continue pressuring enemies and setting up for his team, even if the offensive Fearless combo fails. No longer disarms enemies, now knocks up enemies. I think technically Fearless in offensive stance, I think it's classified as a knockback actually, and I'm not sure about that. Which, that's important. That does change certain mechanics. I think. I don't know. Actually, I'd have to see how it applies to crowd control. I'm not sure. G-Blanque was defining the meta for most of the year, but a big change to his ultimate has brought him to a more reasonable place. His blind is weaker, yet still a valuable asset to teams, but the community helped point out a strange weakness to his kit. Poison darts slows for surprisingly small amounts until it's ranked up. We want each ability to feel impactful, so the slow is being boosted at lower ranks to ensure G-Blanque follow up after this ability. Poison darts increase poison slow from 4 to 20%, and 20% at all rank. What is this nonsense with 4, 8, 12, 16%? What is that? That's so dumb looking. I don't understand why you would do numbers like that for a slow. Like 20% is kind of low as far as slowing abilities go. Or it's about average, I think. But you know, we'll give him 4% because that does something. What impact does that have? That's almost not noticeable. Probably a good change for him. Anyway, everybody, that being said, we are done with the Goddess of Rivers update notes today. Hope you guys enjoyed this little patch notes review that we like to do every time a new patch comes around. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Leave a comment down below if you'd like. Talk about what you think of the patch, what you like, what you don't like, or anything else. Check the helpful links down in the description, and I will see you guys next time for some more Smite. Have a good one.